Those were 5 true small-town creepy 911 call horror stories. Voices shaking, lines going silent, and help that didn't always arrive in time. If any of those calls stayed with you, subscribe to Dark Hours for more real horror, disturbing audio stories, and true events that unfold when no one else is listening. And let me know in the comments, which call chilled you the most. Until next time, keep your phone close, your doors locked, and remember, sometimes the scariest part isn't the call itself. It's what happens after the line goes dead. My name is Caroline Mercer, and I was the night dispatcher for Millbrook County Emergency Services for 11 years before I quit. Before that night, the town had maybe 4,000 people spread across 40 square miles of pine forest and forgotten farmland, the kind of place where a drunk driver hitting a deer counted as major news. Most nights I'd get maybe 3 calls: medical emergencies from the retirement community, domestic disputes, the occasional teenager reporting their friend passed out at a party. I knew every street, every family, every recurring problem. I thought I knew what fear sounded like over a phone line. I was wrong. It was February 14th, Valentine's Day, which meant absolutely nothing in Millbrook except that the gas station sold wilted roses for twice the normal price. The dispatch center was just me in a converted storage room behind the sheriff's office, surrounded by outdated equipment and the smell of burnt coffee. Deputy Marshal was out on patrol. Sheriff Hicks had gone home hours ago. The scanner crackled with static and the distant chatter of the state police frequency. I was reading a paperback thriller, something about a serial killer in Seattle, when the 911 line lit up at 2:47 a.m. 911, what's your emergency? Silence. Not dead air. I could hear something. Breathing, shallow and quick. Background noise that sounded like wind or maybe rushing water. Hello? This is 911. Can you hear me? There's someone in my house. A woman's voice, barely above a whisper. Young, maybe early 20s. Terrified. My training kicked in immediately. I started typing, pulling up the reverse lookup on the incoming number. Ma'am, I need you to stay calm. Can you tell me your address? 4347 Hickory Road. Please, you have to send someone. There's someone in my house and I can't. Her voice broke off into a strangled sound. I knew that address. The old Carmichael place, set back a half-mile from the road down a gravel drive, surrounded by woods. It had been empty for 3 years after old Mrs. Carmichael died. According to the county records pulling up on my screen, it was still listed as vacant. Ma'am, what's your name? Emma. Emma Hartley. I just moved in last week. Please, I can hear them downstairs. They're looking for me. Them, plural. My fingers flew across the keyboard, dispatching Marshall to the location. Then I keyed the radio for backup from the state police barracks 20 miles away. Emma, I need you to stay on the line with me. Where are you right now? The bedroom, upstairs. I locked the door, but... Another sound, muffled, like fabric tearing. Oh God, they're coming up the stairs. Can you get to a window? Is there a way out? I tried. They're nailed shut. All of them. I didn't notice before. Why would someone nail the windows shut? Her breathing was coming faster now, panicked gulps of air. The door handle, it's turning. Emma, I need you to stay quiet and find somewhere to hide. Deputy Marshal is on his way. He'll be there in 10 minutes. I don't have 10 minutes. Her voice rose to a sharp whisper. The door, it's opening. But I locked it. I know I locked it. I could hear it then, in the background. A sound like wood scraping across wood, slow and deliberate, and underneath it, something else. A low sound, rhythmic and wet, like someone breathing through fluid-filled lungs. Emma? They're inside. Her voice had gone flat, emotionless. But that's not right. That's not right. What do you mean? Emma, talk to me. There's no one here. The door's open, but there's no one. The room is empty, but I can hear them. I can hear them breathing. It's coming from the walls. A chill ran down my spine. Emma, I need you to stay calm. No, the breathing. It's not coming from the walls. It's the house. The house is breathing. Can't you hear it? I pressed the headphone tighter against my ear. Past Emma's ragged gasps, past the static on the line, I could hear it. A deep, rhythmic sound, like enormous lungs filling and emptying, in and out, in and out. Emma, you need to get out of that house right now. I can't. I tried. The doorway. There's something wrong with it. It's getting smaller. The walls are moving. Oh God. The walls are moving. Marshall, what's your ETA? I barked into the radio. His voice crackled back, tense. 5 minutes out. What am I walking into? I didn't know how to answer that. Possible home invasion. Female caller reports intruders. Proceed with caution. Emma was making sounds now, not quite words. Whimpering. I heard a crash, like furniture being knocked over. Emma, what's happening? The floor. It's soft, like flesh, and it's warm. The whole house is warm, and I can feel it breathing, and a scream, sudden and sharp, cut off almost immediately. Emma! The line stayed connected, but she wasn't speaking anymore. Just that breathing, slow and deep, and underneath it, a wet sliding sound that made my stomach turn. Marshall's voice on the radio. Dispatch, I'm on site. The house looks… Jesus, Caroline, something's wrong with this place. What do you mean? The whole structure. It's moving, pulsing, like it's alive. I can see it from the driveway. The walls are expanding and contracting. I'm going in. Wait for backup. But he was already out of his vehicle. I could hear his boots crunching on gravel through his open mic, then the creak of a door opening. Marshall, do you copy? Static. Deputy Marshall, respond. More static, then his voice, distant and distorted. Caroline, you need to see this. The interior. It's not right. The walls aren't walls. They're red. Everything's red and wet and moving. I can hear something. Sounds like a heartbeat. Get out of there. Get out now. I found her. Emma, she's… A pause. Too long. She's in the wall, part of the wall. Her face is sticking out, her mouth is open, but she's not moving. There are others. Jesus Christ, there are so many others. The walls are full of them. They're all… The line went dead. The radio went silent. I sat there, my hand frozen on the keyboard, listening to the 911 line that was still connected. That slow, deep breathing continued, steady and patient. And then, underneath it, I heard Marshall's voice. Not on the radio. Through the phone. Distant, muffled, like he was speaking through layers of wet fabric. Caroline, it's so warm in here. And dark. I can't move. It's holding me. The house is holding me. I can feel it growing around me, into me. Caroline. It's hungry. It's always been hungry. That's why the windows were nailed shut. That's why the door locks from the outside. Mrs. Carmichael didn't die. She fed it. All those missing people over the years. She fed it and kept it satisfied, and now there's no one left to… His voice dissolved into static, then silence. The state police found my patrol car parked at the end of the Hickory Road driveway 3 hours later, but the house was gone. Not burned down or collapsed. Gone. Just a foundation and a basement filled with dark, brackish water that stank like spoiled meat. They searched for days, never found Marshall, never found Emma Hartley, though they couldn't find any record of her existing either. No rental agreement, no moving truck, no trace of anyone by that name anywhere in the county. But I still have the 911 recording. I've listened to it 100 times, trying to understand. At the very end, after Marshall's voice cuts out, there's something else. A sound that's not quite a voice, deep and resonant, like it's coming from somewhere vast and hollow. It sounds like satisfaction. I quit the next week, moved to the city, somewhere with millions of people and lights that never go out. But sometimes, late at night when the building is quiet, I press my palm against the wall and feel it. That faint, rhythmic pulsing. The warmth of something living beneath the paint and drywall. And I wonder how many houses breathe, how many are hungry, how many are waiting. My name is Marcus Webb, and I made the worst 911 call of my life on October 3rd at exactly 3:32 in the morning. I know the exact time because I've replayed it in my head every single day since. Every detail, every word, every horrible, impossible thing that happened after. I was a truck driver then, hauling freight across the Midwest, and that night I was passing through Ashwood Falls, population 600 and dropping, one of those towns that exists purely because a highway exit happens to be nearby. A gas station, a diner that closes at 8, a motel with a flickering vacancy sign that's been lit for years. The kind of place you pass through and forget before you reach the next town. I should have kept driving. But my rig started making a grinding noise around mile marker 47, and I knew better than to push it. I limped into Ashwood Falls, pulled into the empty lot of a closed mechanics shop, and killed the engine. It was cold that night, the kind of bone-deep October cold that comes early in places this far north. Fog rolled across the highway in thick sheets, turning the streetlights into smeared halos of yellow. I grabbed my phone and climbed down from the cab to take a look at the engine. That's when I saw him. A man, standing in the middle of the highway about 50 yards away, just standing there, perfectly still, facing away from me. He was wearing what looked like a dark suit, too formal for the weather, no coat. His arms hung at his sides. He didn't move, didn't turn around. Just stood there in the center of the empty road as fog rolled past his legs. I watched him for maybe 30 seconds, waiting for him to move, to do something. Nothing. The highway stretched out in both directions, utterly deserted. No other vehicles, no lights from houses. Just him, the fog, and the silence. Then a semi-truck came around the bend, headlights cutting through the fog, horn blaring. The man didn't move. I shouted, but the truck was too loud, too fast. I saw the driver's face, illuminated in his own headlights, mouth open in horror as he stood on his brakes, the screech of locked tires, the smell of burning rubber. The truck hit him dead center at probably 40 miles an hour. I heard the impact, a wet, heavy thud that echoed across the empty highway, saw the body fly up and over the cab, tumbling through the air, limbs flailing like a rag doll. He hit the pavement 30 feet beyond the truck and lay still. The semi slid to a stop, jackknifed across both lanes. The driver stumbled out, a big man in a flannel shirt, his face pale. We ran to the body together, our footsteps loud in the sudden quiet. He was dead, obviously dead. No one survives getting hit like that. His neck was bent at an angle that made my stomach turn. Blood pooled beneath his head, black in the streetlight. His eyes were open, staring at nothing. One arm was folded underneath him, clearly broken. The other reached out across the pavement, fingers slightly curled. "Jesus Christ," the truck driver said. His voice shook. He just stood there. He didn't move. Why didn't he move? I pulled out my phone and dialed 911. My hands were shaking. 911, what's your emergency? There's been an accident. A pedestrian was hit by a truck on Highway 54 just inside Ashwood Falls. He's dead. We need police and an ambulance. The dispatcher, an older woman with a tired voice, took my information, told us to stay at the scene. Help was on the way. I hung up and looked down at the body again. That's when I noticed something strange. The man's suit wasn't wrinkled or torn, despite being hit by a truck thrown 30 feet and landing on asphalt hard enough to crack his skull. The suit looked pristine, pressed, like he'd just come from a funeral. "Did you see him before?" the truck driver asked. "Before he walked into the road?" "He was just standing there," I said. "In the middle of the highway. Didn't move, didn't react. Like he was waiting for it." We stood there in the fog, waiting for the police, not talking. The body lay between us, cooling in the October air. 5 minutes passed, 10. The blood stopped spreading. Then the man's finger moved. Just one finger. The index finger of his outstretched hand, curling slightly, then uncurling. The truck driver saw it too. "Did you?" The man's chest rose, a shallow breath, then another. "He's alive," I said, dropping to my knees beside him. "Jesus, he's still alive. We need to—" The man's eyes moved. Not his head, just his eyes, rolling in their sockets until they fixed on my face. They were completely black, not just the pupils. The entire eye, from edge to edge, like someone had filled them with ink. He opened his mouth and spoke in a voice that sounded like wind through a tunnel. "Why did you call them?" I scrambled backward. The truck driver made a sound like a wounded animal. The man sat up. His neck was still bent at that impossible angle, his head lolling to one side, but he sat up smoothly, easily, like he was waking from a nap. Blood ran down his face from the wound in his skull. He looked at us, with those black eyes. "I was done," he said. "I was finally done. Why did you call them?" What are you?" The truck driver's voice was barely a whisper. The man climbed to his feet. His movements were all wrong, joints bending in directions they shouldn't, but he stood. The blood kept flowing, pattering onto the pavement. "I died in this town 40 years ago," he said. "Car accident. Right here. This exact spot. And I've been trying to die ever since. But this place won't let me. Every time something stops it. Someone calls. Someone interferes. Someone saves me." He took a step toward us. His broken arm dangled uselessly, but he didn't seem to notice or care. I've walked in front of cars, jumped from buildings, put a gun in my mouth. Nothing works. This town keeps bringing me back. And people like you, he pointed at me with his good hand, people like you keep calling for help. In the distance, I heard sirens. The police were coming, the ambulance. They'll fix me again, the man said. His voice was hollow, empty of everything except despair. They'll take me to the hospital and I'll heal, and I'll wake up and I'll still be here, still trapped, still aware. Do you understand? I remember dying. I remember it clearly, but I'm still here, still conscious, still feeling everything, and I can't stop. I can't end it. The town won't let me. The truck driver was backing away, moving toward his rig. I wanted to run too, but my legs wouldn't work. How many others? I asked. I don't know why I asked. The words just came out. The man smiled. It was the saddest thing I'd ever seen. Look around, he said. Really look. Count the people you see tomorrow morning. Count them carefully, then come back tomorrow night and count again. You'll see. Some of us can only come out at night. Some of us can't leave. Some of us have been here so long we've forgotten we're dead. The sirens were getting closer. Red and blue lights flickered through the fog. I have to go, the man said, before they get here, before they make me stay again. He turned and walked into the fog, his broken body moving with that same awful, wrong fluidity. I watched him disappear into the darkness beside the highway, leaving a trail of blood that stopped at the edge of the pavement like he'd simply ceased to exist. The police arrived. The ambulance. I told them everything, exactly as it happened. They searched the area, found nothing. No body, no blood. The truck driver confirmed my story, then left town immediately, wouldn't even wait to give a full statement. I don't blame him, but I stayed. I had to know. The next morning, I counted. The woman at the diner, the attendant at the gas station, the old man sitting on the bench outside the post office, the teenager stocking shelves at the convenience store. 15 people total. That night I counted again, 19 people. 4 I hadn't seen during the day. They moved through the town like everyone else, but there was something off about them. They didn't cast shadows quite right. Their reflections in windows were slightly delayed, like the glass had to remember what they looked like. And when I looked closely, really looked, I could see it in their eyes. That black emptiness, that awareness. They knew what they were. They knew they were trapped. I left Ashwood Falls at dawn and never went back. But sometimes I wake up at 3:32 a.m. exactly, and I think about that man standing in the highway. I think about what he said, about being saved against his will, about help that isn't help at all. And I wonder how many other towns are like Ashwood Falls. How many places exist where the dead can't leave, where consciousness persists past any reasonable point, where the only mercy is oblivion, and even that is denied. I wonder if I made the right choice calling 911 that night. I wonder if help is always helpful. I wonder if sometimes the kindest thing we can do is nothing at all. My name is Rachel Kincaid, and I was a 911 dispatcher in Copper Ridge for 8 months before the night that broke me. Before that call, the town was small, maybe 2,000 people, nestled in a valley between mountains that tourists loved and locals tolerated. We got calls about hikers getting lost, kids breaking into the abandoned ski lodge, the occasional drunk and disorderly. Nothing prepared me for what happened that September. The call came in at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. I remember because I was training a new dispatcher, a young guy named Tyler, who just moved to Copper Ridge from somewhere downstate. He was eager, nervous, taking notes on everything I said. We'd had a quiet shift, a false alarm at the grocery store, a noise complaint that turned out to be raccoons. Tyler was starting to relax, joking about how different small-town dispatching was from what he'd expected. Then the 911 line lit up. 911, what's your emergency? Heavy breathing, footsteps, the sound of branches snapping. Hello? This is 911, can you hear me? Help. A man's voice, breathless, panicked. Please, you have to help us. We're lost. We're lost and something's wrong. Something's very wrong. I gestured for Tyler to pull up the GPS tracking on the call. Sir, I need you to calm down and tell me where you are. The woods. We're in the woods behind Copper Ridge. The hiking trail. We went off the path and now we can't find our way back and... He broke off, and I heard him talking to someone else, voice muffled. Sarah says we've been walking for hours, but that can't be right. We've only been gone for 40 minutes, but it's been dark for so long. Tyler pointed at his screen, frowning. The call's pinging from multiple locations. That's not right. It's bouncing all over the valley. Sir, what's your name? David. David Marsh. My wife Sarah and I, we're visiting from Portland. We went for an evening hike and the sun went down faster than we expected, and now everything looks the same. Every tree looks identical. Every path leads back to the same clearing. I knew the trails behind Copper Ridge. They were well marked, easy to navigate, looped back to the parking lot within 3 miles in any direction. You'd have to try to get lost out there. David, I'm sending search and rescue to your location. Can you see any landmarks? Anything distinctive? No, that's what I'm telling you. There's nothing, just trees, the same trees, over and over. We've been marking our path, breaking branches, and we keep finding our own marks. We're walking in circles, but we're going straight. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make any sense. His voice was rising, panic creeping in. I could hear a woman crying in the background, Sarah presumably. David, I need you to stay where you are. Stop moving. Search and rescue will find you faster if you stay in one place. We can't stop. We tried. We sat down for 10 minutes in the forest. It grew closer. The trees moved. I know how that sounds, but I swear to God, the trees moved closer. When we stood up, they were 15 feet nearer than when we sat down. If we stop moving, they'll... Static burst across the line, so loud I had to pull the headset away from my ear. When it cleared, I could hear David talking, but his voice sounded distant, like he was moving away from the phone. David, can you hear me? The trail, he said. We found a trail. A real trail. Paved. There are lights. Oh, thank God. There are lights. Can you tell me what you see? Street lights, buildings. We're back in town. We're in Copper Ridge. We made it. We're on Main Street. Right in front of the... He paused. That's weird. What's weird? The town. It's empty. Completely empty. There's no one here. No cars. No people. The stores are all dark. What time did you say it was? It's almost midnight, I said. Most businesses close at 9. No, I mean, the street. It's completely silent. No lights in any houses. No cars parked anywhere. It's like everyone disappeared. A cold feeling crept up my spine. I looked out the window of the dispatch center. Main Street was visible from where I sat, 1 block over. I could see the street lights, the parked cars, the light from the bar on the corner. David, which street are you on? Main Street. I'm looking at the sign right now. We're standing in front of the hardware store. There's a post office across the street, a coffee shop. But everything's wrong. Everything's too clean, too perfect. There's no garbage in the trash cans, no leaves on the ground. And the buildings, they have doors and windows, but when I look close, the windows are painted black. They're not real windows, they're just facades. Tyler was already on the radio, directing our 2 police officers on duty to Main Street. I kept my voice steady, professional, even though my heart was hammering. David, help is on the way. Stay where you are. There's someone here. His voice dropped to a whisper. Sarah sees them too, a person standing at the end of the street. They're not moving, just standing there, watching us. Can you describe them? Too far away, but they're wearing... It looks like a uniform. Like a police uniform, maybe? They're walking toward us now, walking very slowly. Sarah wants to run, but I don't. His voice cut off in a strangled gasp. David? The person. As they get closer, I can see. That's not right. Their face. They don't have a face. It's smooth. Blank. Like a mannequin. But they're walking. They're walking right toward us, and they're raising their hand, like they want us to stop, and... The line went dead. I immediately called back. The phone rang and rang, then went to a generic voicemail. I tried again. Same result. Tyler's radio crackled. Dispatch, this is Officer Chen. We're on Main Street. No sign of anyone. No distressed hikers. Nothing unusual. Check the hardware store, I said. They said they were right in front of it. A pause. Copy that. We're here now. Store's locked up. Dark. Nobody around. You want us to check the hiking trails? Negative. Wait there. I'm pulling up the security cameras. Copper Ridge had installed security cameras along Main Street 2 years ago, after a string of vandalism incidents. I logged into the system and pulled up the feed from 11:47 p.m. onward. Tyler watched over my shoulder as we scrubbed through the footage. Empty street, no movement. The timestamp rolled forward, 11:48, 11:49, 11:50. Nothing, no David, no Sarah, no faceless figure in a police uniform. "They were lying?" Tyler asked, but he didn't sound convinced. "Run the call recording back," I said. "Let me hear it again." He pulled it up and we listened. David's voice clear and desperate. The background sounds of wind, of footsteps, of branches snapping, then the static, and his description of Main Street. All of it was there, exactly as I remembered. But there was something else, something I hadn't noticed during the live call. In the background, very faint, I could hear other voices. Not Sarah, other voices. Dozens of them, maybe more, all talking at once. A murmur of overlapping conversation just below the threshold of comprehension. "What is that?" Tyler asked. I turned up the volume and isolated the background noise. The voices became clearer, but they weren't speaking English. They weren't speaking any language I recognized. It was more like echolocation, like bats. High-pitched chirps and clicks that occasionally formed patterns that almost sounded like words. And underneath it all, a low hum, mechanical, steady. Officer Chen's voice on the radio made us both jump. "Dispatch, we've got something. Found a cell phone in the parking lot behind the hardware store. It's damaged, like it was dropped from a height. Screen smashed, but it's still on. Lock screen shows the owner as David Marsh." My mouth went dry. "Bring it in." When Chen arrived at the dispatch center 20 minutes later, he handed me the phone in an evidence bag. The screen was spiderwebbed with cracks, but I could see the display. 17 missed calls, all from our dispatch number. The phone's GPS history showed its last location as the hiking trail parking lot at 7:23 p.m. After that, nothing. No movement. No signal. It was like the phone had ceased to exist for 4 hours, then suddenly reappeared behind the hardware store. "There's something else," Chen said. He looked uncomfortable. "We found items in the parking lot. A wallet, car keys, 2 jackets, all belonging to David and Sarah Marsh according to the IDs. But here's the thing." He pulled out his own phone and showed us a photo. The items were laid out on the pavement, photographed with evidence markers. The wallet was weathered, the leather cracked and faded. The jackets were stained, torn. The car keys were corroded with rust. "How long would it take for items to degrade like that?" he asked. "Years," Tyler said quietly. "Those look like they've been outside for years." We filed a missing persons report, called Portland PD, who confirmed that David and Sarah Marsh had left for a weekend trip to Copper Ridge 4 days ago and hadn't returned. Their car was still in the hiking trail parking lot, covered in a layer of dust and pollen that suggested it had been sitting there for weeks, not days. The Portland police treated it as a standard missing persons case. Hikers got lost in the mountains all the time. Sometimes they didn't come back, but I couldn't let it go. I spent weeks reviewing that 911 recording, listening to those voices in the background, that mechanical hum. I researched the history of Copper Ridge, dug through old newspapers and town records. Found something interesting. The town was founded in 1952, built by a mining company that went bankrupt in 1955. The original settlement was abandoned, then rebuilt in exactly the same location in 1961 by developers who wanted to create a tourist destination. They used the same street layout, the same building designs, recreated the town exactly as it had been. But I couldn't find any records from between 1955 and 1961. Those 6 years were a blank. No newspaper articles, no photographs, no documentation of what happened to the original settlement. I found one thing. A single photograph in the town archives, dated 1957, showing what the caption claimed was Copper Ridge during the Reconstruction period. The photo showed Main Street, but it was wrong. The buildings were there, but they were facades, empty shells with painted windows, and in the center of the street, a tall structure that looked like a radio tower, though the architecture was wrong. Too organic, too curved. And standing around the tower, perfectly still, were dozens of figures in what looked like police uniforms. None of them had faces. I tried to trace the Marsh's family, to warn them, to tell them what I'd found, but according to every record I could access, David and Sarah Marsh never existed. No birth certificates, no social security numbers, no school records. Portland PD had no record of my call to them, no missing persons report. It was like they'd been erased. Tyler quit a month after the incident, said he couldn't handle the quiet nights anymore, couldn't stop wondering if the next call would be like that one. I lasted another 2 months before I broke. before I accepted that I'd never understand what happened, that some questions don't have answers, that sometimes people call 911 from places that don't exist, reporting emergencies that haven't happened yet, or happened long ago, or are always happening in some pocket of reality that occasionally overlaps with ours. I left Copper Ridge, moved to a big city where the noise never stops, where there are always people around, where nothing is ever too quiet. But sometimes late at night my phone rings. No caller ID. I answer it, and I hear static. And underneath the static, very faint, I hear David's voice. "Help, please. We're still here. We're still in the town, the empty one. We can see you, but you can't see us. We've been here for so long. How long has it been? Days? Years? We can't tell anymore. The faceless people, they just watch us. They don't do anything. They just watch. And we can't leave. Every road leads back to Main Street. Every path returns to the same place. Please, you have to help us." Then the line goes dead. And I wonder, which Copper Ridge do I live in? The real one? Or the empty one? How would I know? How would any of us know? What if we're all making calls to a 911 that exists somewhere else, in some other version of reality, where dispatchers listen to our voices and try to help but can't reach us, can't find us, can't do anything but listen, as we describe the world we're trapped in, the world that looks so much like theirs but isn't, could never be, will never be anything but a perfect empty copy? What if we're all already lost? My name is Thomas Rivera, and I was the sheriff of Millerton for 15 years before I resigned, before I understood that some calls can't be answered with a badge and a gun and good intentions, that some emergencies don't have solutions, only witnesses. Millerton was farm country, 200 miles from anything resembling a city, corn and soybeans as far as you could see, broken up by the occasional farmhouse or grain silo. The town itself barely qualified as a town. A main street with 6 buildings, a population that hovered around 300 depending on whether you counted the folks living outside the town limits. Everyone knew everyone. Everyone knew everyone's business. It was the kind of place where crime meant teenagers spray painting the water tower or old man Hendricks letting his cattle wander onto the highway. The 911 call came in on August 19th, right at the peak of harvest season. The corn was 8 feet tall, golden and ready, rustling in the hot wind that blew across the fields in waves. I was in my office, doing paperwork, when Maggie at the dispatch desk patched the call through to me directly. "Sheriff, you need to hear this." She sounded shaken, which wasn't like Maggie. She'd been dispatching for 30 years and had heard everything. "What have we got?" "Just listen." She transferred the call to my line. I picked up. "This is Sheriff Rivera." "Sheriff, thank God." A woman's voice, elderly, strained. I recognized it immediately. Dorothy Fletcher lived alone on a farm 3 miles east of town. Her husband had died 5 years back. "There's a child in my cornfield, a little boy. I don't know where he came from, but he's been standing there for hours and he won't respond when I call to him." I felt a knot of unease form in my stomach. Dorothy's farm was isolated, no neighbors within a mile. "How long has he been there?" "Since dawn. I saw him when I went out to check the irrigation. He was just standing in the middle of the field, about 30 rows deep, not moving, not making a sound. I called out to him, asked if he was lost, if he needed help. He didn't answer, didn't even turn around." "What's he wearing?" "That's the strange part. Old-fashioned clothes, like something from a century ago. A little button-up shirt, suspenders, short pants, no shoes. And Sheriff, he's pale. Too pale, like he's never seen the sun." "I'm on my way. Stay inside the house, Dorothy. Don't go into the field." "There's something else." Her voice dropped. "The corn around him, it's dying. All the stalks in a circle around where he's standing, maybe 20 feet across, they're brown and withered, like they've been dead for weeks. But they were green yesterday. I checked the whole field yesterday. I drove out to the Fletcher farm with Deputy Harris, a young woman who'd joined the department 2 years ago. We didn't talk much on the drive. I'd been sheriff long enough to know when something felt wrong, and this felt wrong in a way I couldn't articulate. Dorothy met us on the porch. She looked terrified. "He's still there, in the exact same spot. I've been watching him through binoculars. He hasn't moved an inch, not once." She handed me the binoculars and pointed toward the cornfield. I scanned the rows until I found him. A child, maybe 7 or 8 years old, standing perfectly still in the middle of the field. His back was to us. Dorothy was right about the clothes. They looked like something from an old photograph, early 1900s, maybe. And the corn around him was dead, a perfect circle of brown and withered stalks surrounding him like a halo of decay. "Ma'am, do you know of any children matching this description?" Harris asked. "Anyone who might have wandered away from home?" Dorothy shook her head. "There are no children on this road. The Petersons have grandkids who visit sometimes, but they're teenagers now, and nobody dresses like that. Nobody." I lowered the binoculars. "I'm going in. Harris, you stay here with Mrs. Fletcher. Radio for backup from the state police. And if anything happens, if I don't come back in 30 minutes, don't come looking for me." "Sheriff, that's an order." I walked into the cornfield. The temperature dropped as soon as I stepped between the first rows. The sun was high and hot, but under the canopy of corn leaves it felt like autumn, cold, damp. The stalks rustled around me even though there was no wind. I counted rows as I walked. 10, 15, 20, keeping my hand on my service weapon even though I couldn't imagine what I'd shoot. At 28 rows I saw him. The child stood with his back to me, arms at his sides, head slightly bowed. His clothes were exactly as Dorothy described. Old, faded, but somehow pristine. No dirt, no wear. His feet were bare and his skin was the white of milk, of bone. The corn around him was dead, completely dead. The stalks were gray and crumbling, the earth beneath them cracked and dry. The smell was overwhelming. Rot and chemicals and something else. Something sweet and wrong. "Hey there," I called out, keeping my voice gentle. "Are you lost? Can you tell me your name?" The child didn't respond, didn't move. I took a step closer. "I'm the sheriff. I'm here to help. Are you hurt?" Nothing. I moved around to his side, trying to see his face. He was small, thin, his hair cut short and neat. His eyes were closed. His lips were slightly parted. "Son, I need you to talk to me." The child's eyes opened. They were black, completely black. Not just the pupils, the entire eye, from corner to corner, like someone had filled them with ink, and they were looking right at me. "You shouldn't have come here." His voice was wrong. Too old, too deep. It echoed inside my skull like he was speaking directly into my brain. "This place isn't for you." I took a step back, my hand moving to my weapon. "Who are you?" "I've always been here." The child smiled, but his lips didn't move right, didn't match the words. "Long before the town, long before the farms, before the fields were planted. This was my place. The people who came before you, they knew. They left offerings. They kept the boundary. But you forgot. You built and planted and forgot." The dead corn around him rustled, though the air was perfectly still. I heard something moving through the field, circling us. Multiple somethings, heavy footsteps that shook the ground. "Every 7 years I wake," the child said. "And every 7 years someone comes. Someone who doesn't believe. Someone who thinks they can help. Are you here to help, Sheriff?" "I'm here to find out what's happening. What's happening is remembering. This field remembers what it was before you came. The corn remembers what fed it. The soil remembers what it drank. Would you like to remember too?" The moving things in the corn were getting closer. I could hear breathing, low and rattling, like wind through a broken pipe. "I need you to come with me," I said, trying to sound authoritative, in control. "Come back to town. We'll figure this out." The child laughed. It was a terrible sound, like wind chimes made of teeth. "I am the town. I'm the foundation it's built on. I'm the water in the wells. I'm the air you breathe. Every 7 years I take one person to remember, to carry the knowledge forward, to understand what this place really is." Last time, it was Samuel Hendricks. The time before that, Margaret Crenshaw. Before that, Pastor Williams. They're all still here, still in the field, still remembering. The things in the corn broke through the stalks. They were people, or they had been people. Samuel Hendricks, missing 7 years ago during a harvest check. Margaret Crenshaw, vanished 14 years back while walking her dog. Pastor Williams, gone 21 years. I recognized them from their missing persons photos, but they were wrong now. Their skin had the same pale quality as the child, their eyes the same bottomless black. They moved in jerky, unnatural motions, like puppets with tangled strings. "Join us," they said in unison, their voices blending into a chorus. "Remember with us, understand with us, become the field." I ran. I crashed through the corn, not bothering to count rows, just running for the edge, for the sunlight, for anything that wasn't this. Behind me, I heard them following, not running, walking. They didn't need to run. They knew I couldn't escape. The field went on forever. The rows stretched in every direction. I'd been walking for 30 seconds, but I should have hit the edge by now. I pulled my radio. "Harris, I need backup. I need..." Static. Dead air. The radio was silent. I kept running. The corn grabbed at me, stalks bending to catch my clothes, my arms, my face. The ground beneath my feet felt soft, yielding, like flesh. I could hear the child singing now, a lullaby in a language I didn't know, words that hurt to hear. Then I burst out of the cornfield and fell to my knees on the dirt driveway. Harris was there, gun drawn. "Sheriff, what happened? You've been in there for 3 hours." I looked back at my watch. She was right. It was past 4 in the afternoon. I'd been in the field for 3 hours, but it felt like minutes. "The child," I gasped. "Did you see him? Did he come out?" "There's no child, Sheriff. We've had 3 state police units searching the field. They haven't found anything. No child, no body, nothing." I stood up, looking back at the cornfield. The dead circle was still there, visible from the farmhouse. But the child was gone. The people were gone. "Dorothy saw him," I said. "She called it in. You heard her." Harris looked uncomfortable. "Sheriff, Dorothy Fletcher died 2 years ago. The farm's been abandoned since then. We got a 911 call from this location, but there was no one on the line. Just static. And underneath it, what sounded like singing. We traced the call here and found you stumbling out of the corn." I drove back to the station in silence, checked the records. Harris was right. Dorothy Fletcher had died of a heart attack in her sleep 2 years ago. The farm had been foreclosed, bought by an agricultural corporation that hadn't done anything with it yet. The cornfield was wild, untended, grown from seeds blown over from neighboring farms. But I had her 911 call. I'd heard her voice. Talked to her. Maggie pulled the recording for me. I listened to it 3 times. It was my voice, only my voice, talking to silence, answering questions no one was asking, saying I was on my way to a house where no one lived to investigate a child no one had seen. I resigned the next week, told them I was retiring early, health reasons. They didn't question it. They'd seen me come out of that cornfield. They'd seen the look on my face. But before I left, I did some research. Went through old records, newspaper archives, land deeds. Found something interesting. Every 7 years, like clockwork, someone in Millerton vanished, always during harvest season, always near the fields, going back over 100 years. And before that, before the town was founded, there were reports from the native people who lived here. Stories about a child's spirit that lived in the tall grass, that demanded respect, demanded remembrance. They called it the corn child, said it was older than the land itself, said it would sleep for years, then wake hungry. Hungry for memory, for knowledge, for understanding. I don't live in Millerton anymore. I moved to the city, got a job doing security at a shopping mall, but every 7 years, around late August, I check the news from back home. And every 7 years, someone goes missing. Last month was year 7. The report said a state police officer named Harris vanished while investigating reports of a disturbance at an abandoned farm 3 miles east of town. They found her car in the driveway, her radio on the ground, her gun still holstered. They searched the cornfield for days. They found nothing. But I know where she is. I know what she's doing. She's standing in the middle of the field, surrounded by a circle of dead corn, with black eyes and pale skin. Standing with Samuel and Margaret and Pastor Williams and Dorothy and all the others who came before. Standing with the corn child, remembering. And in 7 more years, someone else will get a call. Someone else will investigate. Someone else will walk into that field thinking they can help, thinking they can save someone, thinking the badge and the gun and their good intentions will be enough. And the child will be waiting, always hungry, always remembering. My name is Jennifer Moss, and I was the sole 911 dispatcher for Clearwater Township for 3 years before the calls started. The calls that came from nowhere. The calls from the space between seconds where something else lives, something that's been trying to reach us for a very long time. Clearwater was barely a township, 800 people scattered across 20 square miles of wetlands and pine forest in the northern reaches of the state. We had 1 main road, a volunteer fire department, and a police force, consisting of exactly 2 people, Chief Garrett and Officer Lou. Most of my shifts were quiet. medical emergencies from the elderly population, the occasional fender bender, noise complaints from the summer people who rented cabins on the lake and didn't understand that gunshots were normal during hunting season. I worked the night shift, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., alone in a converted office above the township hall. The equipment was old, the chair was uncomfortable, and the heating barely worked in winter. But I didn't mind. I like the quiet. I like the routine. I like knowing that in a place as small as Clearwater, I could actually help people, actually make a difference. That was before I understood that some calls don't come from people. It started on January 9th, during a winter storm that knocked out power to half the township. I was running on generator backup, watching the snow pile up outside the window, when the 911 line rang. Not the regular ring, something else. A sound like wind chimes, almost musical. I picked up. 911, what's your emergency? Silence. No, not silence. Static. The kind of static you get on an old radio when you're between stations. That white noise that sounds almost like voices if you listen long enough. Hello, this is 911, can you hear me? The static shifted, formed patterns. And then, underneath it, I heard something. A voice. Distant, distorted, like someone calling from the bottom of a well. Help, can't... Interval. Trapped in the... I can't hear you clearly. Can you speak up? What's your location? Caught between seconds. Help us, please. The line went dead, not disconnected, dead, like the call had never existed. I checked the call log. Nothing. No record of an incoming call. No number. No location data. I told myself it was interference from the storm, electrical noise, my imagination, but it happened again the next night. Same sound, same static, same fragmentary voice crying out from somewhere I couldn't identify, and again the night after that. Each time I could make out a few more words, piece together a little more of what the voice was trying to say. We're trapped in the interval, the space between moments, when your clocks skip, when time jumps. We're here. We've always been here. Please, you have to help us. I started recording the calls, took the recordings to Chief Garrett. He listened, frowned, told me it was probably radio interference or someone playing a prank, but I could see he was unsettled. The voice didn't sound like a entrank. It sounded like genuine terror. On the fifth night, the voice was clearer. My name is Richard Moss. I was driving through Clearwater Township on Route 41 when my car clock jumped. It went from 11:47 p.m. to 11:51 p.m. in an instant. 4 minutes gone, just gone. And I'm still in that gap, still in those 4 minutes. The road goes on forever. The trees never change. I've been driving for days, but my gas gauge hasn't moved. The radio only plays static. I can't find a way out. Please, if you can hear this, help me. Help us. There are others here. So many others. All of us caught in the intervals. All of us. The call cut off. I pulled up the name. Richard Moss. Found a missing persons report from 15 years ago. A traveling salesman passing through Clearwater who vanished without a trace. His car was found on Route 41. Keys in the ignition. Engine still running. The clock on the dashboard was stuck at 11:51 p.m. Police investigated. Found nothing. No sign of struggle. No indication of where he'd gone. The case went cold. I started researching, digging through old records, police reports, newspaper archives. What I found made my blood run cold. Over the past 50 years, 23 people had vanished in Clearwater Township. Not just missing, vanished. Gone between one moment and the next. A woman walking her dog on a trail. Her husband turned around and she wasn't there anymore. A child playing in his backyard. His mother went inside for 2 minutes and came back to an empty yard. A hunter who radioed his friend saying he was heading back to camp. The friend heard static, then nothing. They found his radio, his gear, his gun, but not him. All of the disappearances had something in common. Witnesses reported time skips, clocks jumping forward, minutes vanishing, digital displays glitching, showing impossible times, and all of them happened at night. I brought my findings to Chief Garrett. This time he took me seriously. He'd lived in Clearwater his whole life. He knew the stories, knew that people avoided certain roads after dark, certain trails, certain stretches of forest. But he'd always dismissed it as superstition, small-town folklore. "What are you suggesting?" he asked. That time skips in Clearwater, that there are gaps where people get trapped. I'm suggesting that 23 people didn't just vanish for no reason, and I'm suggesting that someone or something is trying to contact us from wherever they went. That night, I set up additional recording equipment. If the call came again, I'd capture every detail, every word. At 11:47 p.m., the 911 line rang, that same chime-like sound. I picked up. "This is Jennifer Moss, Clearwater 911. I'm recording this call. Please identify yourself." "Jennifer." The voice was clearer now, much clearer. "Thank God. I've been trying to reach someone for so long. My name is Richard Moss. I'm your grandfather." My grandfather. Richard Moss. I'd never known him. He disappeared before I was born. My mother rarely talked about him. The pain was too fresh, even after all these years. "Where are you?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "I'm in the interval, the gap between 11:47 and 11:51, 4 minutes that don't exist in your world but stretch forever in ours. We're all here, Jennifer. Everyone who ever got caught. We're trapped in time that isn't passing, in moments that never end, and we can only reach out when the gap opens again, when someone else's clock skips, when the interval appears. How do I get you out?" "You can't. Once you're here forever, but you can stop others from falling in. The intervals are growing, spreading. Every time someone gets trapped, the gaps get wider. Eventually, they'll overlap. Eventually, Clearwater will slip entirely into the interval, and everyone will be trapped here with us." "What causes them? The gaps?" "We don't know. Something about this place, something in the land. The native people who lived here before, they knew. They had rituals, boundaries, ways of keeping the intervals contained. But when they left, when the township was settled, those rituals stopped, and the gaps started growing." I looked at the clock on my wall. 11:49 p.m. "Richard, grandfather, what happens at 11:51? "The interval closes. We get pulled back into the gap. We won't be able to reach you again until another skip happens, until someone else gets caught. Jennifer, listen to me. You need to leave Clearwater. You need to warn everyone. When the intervals overlap," the clock jumped. 11:49 became 11:51 in an instant. The call disconnected. I sat there staring at the clock, my heart hammering. 2 minutes gone, just gone. I checked my recordings. The call had lasted 7 minutes according to the timestamp, but only 2 minutes had passed in real time. I'd been in the interval, talking to my grandfather from inside the gap, and I'd come back out. But others hadn't been so lucky. Over the next week, I documented every time skip I could find. Clock radios jumping forward, cell phones showing incorrect times, security footage with missing segments. The intervals were happening multiple times per night. Sometimes for just a few seconds. Sometimes for several minutes. And each time, there was a chance someone would get caught. I tried to warn people, told Chief Garrett everything. He called a town meeting. But how do you convince people to abandon their homes because time occasionally skips? How do you explain that the gaps between seconds are growing, that people are trapped in them, that eventually the whole town might slip into a moment that never ends? Most people thought I was crazy. Some people listened, a few families left, but most stayed. On February 3rd, the intervals began overlapping. I was at the dispatch center when it happened, 11:47 p.m. The clock jumped to 11:51 as usual, but this time it jumped again. Backward to 11:47, then forward to 11:51. Back and forth. Time stuttering, looping, breaking apart. The 911 lines lit up. All of them. Dozens of calls coming in simultaneously. I picked up the first one. "Help us," a voice said. "We're all here now. All of us. The intervals are merging. Soon there won't be a gap anymore. Soon it'll just be the interval. One endless moment stretching forever. And everyone in Clearwater will be trapped inside." I looked out the window. The town was still there, lights on in houses, cars on the roads. But something was wrong. The movement was off. People walking too slowly or too fast. Cars jerking forward in stutters. Everything slightly out of sync. I grabbed my keys and ran. I drove out of Clearwater doing 90 miles an hour, not stopping until I was 50 miles away and my clock was running normally. Continuous. No skips, no gaps. I never went back. The official story is that Clearwater Township was evacuated due to environmental contamination, toxic chemicals in the groundwater, unsafe for habitation. The whole area was quarantined. But I know the truth. Clearwater is still there. The buildings, the roads, the houses, all exactly as they were. But if you look at satellite images, you'll notice something strange. Nothing moves, no cars on the roads, no people visible, no lights turning on or off. Because everyone in Clearwater is trapped in the interval now. Caught in a moment that never ends, living the same 4 minutes over and over forever. Aware, conscious, unable to escape. And sometimes, late at night, my phone rings. No caller ID. I answer it and I hear static. And underneath the static, voices. So many voices. All of them calling out from the space between seconds, from the gaps in time where they're trapped. All of them asking for help that will never come. All of them stuck in the interval. Forever. Those were 5 true small-town creepy 911 call horror stories. Voices shaking, lines going silent, and help that didn't always arrive in time. If any of those calls stayed with you, subscribe to Dark Hours for more real horror, disturbing audio stories, and true events that unfold when no one else is listening. And let me know in the comments, which call chilled you the most. Until next time, keep your phone close, your doors locked, and remember, sometimes the scariest part isn't the call itself. It's what happens after the line goes dead.